So this is the second part of video of shoulder joint. So in this video we'll discuss about the relations of the joint with the diagram, blood supply and nerve supply of shoulder joint. So the factors contributing to the stability of the joint, we will discuss about the rotator cuff, the movements at the shoulder joint and the muscles causing various movements. And at last we will discuss a few MCQs on this topic which have been asked in various examinations. First of all, we'll discuss about the relations of shoulder joint. So we'll discuss about relations. We'll draw the diagram. So we have discussed the relations of the shoulder joint in the first part of this video. Here in this part we will discuss the diagram. Yeah. So this is the glenoid cavity. Surrounding the glenoid cavity, there is a fibrocartilaginous rim which is known as the glenoid labrum. So surrounding this, there is a synovium of the joint. This is a synovium of the joint, and surrounding this synovium is the capsule of the shoulder joint. It's a capsule. And here is the acromion. This is the acromion, and this is the coracoid process. This is the coracoid process. So this is the anterior aspect mentioned as A. This is the posterior aspect. So now first of all we will discuss about the anterior relations. This is the coracoacromial ligament here. This is the coracoacromial ligament. So first of all we will discuss the muscles which are related anteriorly. We know that a muscle which is attached to the lesser tubercle of the humerus and which forms the anterior relation of the shoulder joint is the subscapularis. Subscapularis lies like this. So subscapularis, which is the anterior relation. So beneath the subscapularis there is a communicating bursae that is known as subscapular bursae. So one muscle which is forming the anterior relation is the subscapularis, and this bursae is known as subscapular bursae. And another muscle, which there are two muscles arising from the coracoid process which forms the anterior relation of the shoulder joint. Which are the two muscles arising from the coracoid process? These are the coracobrachialis and the short head of biceps. So the conjoint tendon of the coracobrachialis and the short head of biceps. This is coracobrachialis and short head of biceps. Another muscle which covers all this and forms the anterior relation is the anterior fibers of deltoid. And this one is anterior fibers of deltoid. So all this will form the anterior relation. So this will form the anterior relation. Now we will discuss about the superior relation. So the superior relation is found by the coracoacromial arch and the muscle which is known as the supraspinatus muscle. So this is supraspinatus. And there is a bursa here below the acromion. Bursa is known as subacromial bursae. Subacromial bursae. So this will form the superior relation. Superior relation of the joint. Now we will mention the posterior relation. So the posterior relation is formed by the muscles which are attached on the posterior aspect of the greater tubercle of humerus, that is the infraspinatus and the teres minor muscle. Infraspinatus and teres minor. These are infraspinatus and teres minor. And covering all this, there is the posterior fibers of deltoid. Posterior fibers of deltoid, which forms a posterior relation. This is posterior fibers of deltoid. So all this forms the posterior relation. Now the inferior relation is formed by the long head of triceps brachii. Long head of triceps brachii. Which forms the inferior relation. Inferior relation. Now which are the other muscles which can be seen in this cross-section? These include the pectoralis major muscle and the teres major muscles can also be seen here. Pectoralis major muscle and teres major muscle. So these are the relations, diagram of relations of shoulder joint. Now we will discuss about the blood supply and nerve supply of the joint. So blood supply and nerve supply. So what is the blood supply? Blood supply use the mnemonic as PAS. P stands for posterior circumflex humeral. Posterior circumflex humeral, which is a branch of third part of axillary artery. And anterior circumflex humeral, this is also a branch of third part of axillary artery. Then subscapular vessels, suprascapular vessels, suprascapular vessels. Mnemonic is PAS. Now the nerve supply. Nerve supply, we have mnemonic as MAS. MAS stands for musculotendineous nerve. We have the axillary nerve, which winds around the posterior aspect of surgical neck of humerus. There is a suprascapular nerve. So mnemonic is MAS. So now we will discuss about the stability of the joint, that is the factors contributing to the stability of the joint. And we will also discuss the rotator cuff also. So we know that this is the glenoid cavity. There is a fibrocartilaginous rim around the glenoid cavity, which is called the glenoid labrum. Glenoid labrum. So the glenoid labrum helps in deepening the glenoid cavity, and in a way it stabilizes the joint. And we see that this is the joint. There is a coracoacromial arch which is found here. So the coracoacromial arch acts as a secondary socket for humerus during hyperabduction. And there is also a subacromial bursae which also acts as a secondary socket, subacromial bursae. Another factor is, the important one is rotator cuff. Rotator cuff is important. What is rotator cuff? Which is also called musculotendineous cuff. Musculotendineous cuff. So we know that the capsule of shoulder joint is very lax, and because of that it is unstable. So the rotator cuff muscle, what it does is that these are the muscles which are originating from the scapula and whose tendon gets inserted onto the capsule of the shoulder joint. So this is the capsule of the shoulder joint. This is the capsule of the shoulder joint. There are certain muscles whose tendon, this is a subscapularis muscle, the tendon gets inserted here into the lesser tubercle like this. And if this supraspinatus muscle tendon will get inserted into this greater tubercle. Similarly, on the posterior aspect, the teres minor and infraspinatus tendon gets inserted into the capsule. So muscles which are originating from the scapula, the tendon of these muscles becomes flattened and it merges with the capsule of the shoulder joint and forms a musculotendinous cuff around the shoulder joint, contributing to the stability of the shoulder joint. Because the capsule is quite lax, the flattened tendons of this muscle merges with the capsule of the shoulder joint and provides stability to the joint. So if we draw the glenoid cavity like this, and this is the glenoid labrum, this is the synovium, and outermost is the capsule, and this is the posterior aspect, this is the anterior aspect. As on the superior aspect, see that the supraspinatus tendon merges with the capsule. So this is the supraspinatus tendon merging with the capsule superiorly. And anteriorly there is subscapularis tendon merging with the capsule. Subscapularis tendon merging with the capsule. And posteriorly there are two tendon of two muscles, that is, first one is infraspinatus, and second one is, which is located posteriorly, as the teres minor. So the tendon of these four muscles gets flattened and merges with the capsule of the shoulder joint and provides stability to the joint. These muscles are together known as rotator cuff or musculotendineous cuff. This is a fibrous sheath which is formed by the flattened tendons of these four muscles. So out of which the supraspinatus tendon is frequently injured, and the subscapularis is also known as the forgotten muscle of the rotator cuff. Most commonly injured one is supraspinatus tendon. And there is another factor which also confers stability, that is, there is a long tendon of biceps which is passing intracapsularly through the shoulder joint. It passes through the superior aspect of head of humerus and also prevents upward displacement of the humerus. So, and because the capsule is deficient inferiorly, we see that capsule is deficient inferiorly, it is more prone to inferior dislocation. Shoulder joint is more prone to inferior dislocation. Now we will discuss about movements at the shoulder joint. Movements at shoulder joint. What are the movements at shoulder joint? This includes flexion, extension, abduction, adduction, medial rotation and lateral rotation. First we will discuss about flexion. What are the muscles carrying out flexion? So this is the humerus, this is scapula, and greater tubercle, lesser tubercle, like this. So we know that it's a bicipital groove. We know the muscle whose tension is attached, muscle which is attached to the lateral lip of the bicipital groove, that is the pectoralis major. So the clavicular fibers of the pectoralis major, it goes like this. These are the clavicular fibers of pectoralis major. Clavicular fibers of pectoralis major this will contract like this and carries out flexion. And another muscle is the anterior fibers of deltoid. So it's acronym anterior fibers of deltoid. This will also contract like this and causes flexion. That is the anterior fibers of deltoid. Anterior fibers of deltoid. So these are the main muscles carrying out flexion. These are the main muscles. And which are the accessory muscles of flexion? Accessory muscles of flexion are which include muscles which are arising from the coracoid process, a coracobrachialis muscle, and the short head of biceps. And there is another muscle which is the sternocostal fibers of the petralis major. So these two muscles are coracobrachialis and short head of biceps. This will contract like this and pulls up the humerus and causes flexion of the shoulder joint. So now that muscles causing flexion are originating from the anterior aspect and gets inserted onto the anterior aspect of humerus. So like this way you can remember this and can discuss our muscle causing extension. Muscles causing extension. Then muscles which are having either origin or insertion onto the posterior aspect causes extension. So which are these muscles? First one, latissimus dorsi. So this is originating from the posterior aspect and gets inserted into the floor of the bicipital groove between the attachment of the petralis major and the teres major. That is, it is getting attached like this. It is originating in the posterior aspect. And it pulls the humerus backwards and causes extension, that is latissimus dorsi. And the muscle is the posterior fibers of deltoid, posterior fibers. Posterior fibers which pulls the humerus backwards. That is the posterior fibers of deltoid. These get attached posteriorly. This originates from the posterior aspect. So, the other muscles are either originating or inserted into the posterior aspect. These are the accessory muscles of extension. Which are the other muscles which are either originating or inserted onto the posterior aspect. Now there is another muscle which gets inserted into the medial lip of the bicipital groove, that is the teres major muscle, and its origin is from the lateral border of the scapula. So, and it also pulls the humerus backwards and causes flexion, but it is the accessory muscle. These are the main muscles causing extension. So this one is teres major. Which other muscle is inserted posteriorly? That is the long head of triceps, which originates on the infraglenoid tubercle and gets inserted on the posterior aspect of humerus. That is long head of triceps. So now we will discuss about adduction. So now that adduction is caused by muscles which are attached to the lateral medial lip or floor of the bicipital groove. So these which are the muscles which are attached to the lateral medial lip and floor of the bicipital groove. Three muscles, that is pectoralis major, teres major, and latissimus dorsi. So among this, the chief muscles or the main muscles are, first one is this is attached to the medial lip is teres major muscle. Another one is latissimus dorsi. And another one is the pectoralis inserted into the lateral rib. All this will cause adduction. The main muscles are pectoralis major and latissimus dorsi. This is the pectoralis major and latissimus dorsi. And the accessory muscles are, which one? That is teres major and coracoid, short head of biceps, and long head of triceps. This muscle will adduct. Now we'll discuss about abduction, which is an important one. Abduction of shoulder joint. So now that abduction is the initiator of abduction is a muscle which is attached to the rotator tubercle and forms the superior relation of the shoulder joint. This is the supraspinatus. It pulls the humerus like this. So this is the supraspinatus, which is the initiator of abduction and carries out abduction up to 15 degree, 0 to 15 degree. That is the initiator. Now from 15 to 19 degree, this is being carried out by the deltoid muscle. So deltoid. From 15 to 90 degree, and from 90 to 180 degree, that is carried out by what 90 to 180 degree. This is being carried out by two muscles. One is the serratus anterior muscle, and the upper and lower fibers of trapezius. Upper and lower fibers of trapezius. Now we will discuss about medial rotator and lateral rotator in the next part of this video, and we will discuss few MCQs in the next part of this video.